Hi everyone, it was nice seeing you all today for our first class. I wanted to let you know that the materials are available for you to be able to do the readings and begin to do the practicing for this week. They're available on the non-Blackboard website for the class, and I will tomorrow transfer and have them also available on Blackboard should, for whatever reason, that be easier for you to access. I'm still deciding whether to use Blackboard or to use the website that I historically have always used, depending upon what I think will be most easy for you, given the layout and trying to have the materials in the class be easy to sort through and find. As you probably have already begun to realize, unlike a class where maybe you're going to read a certain number of pages and be prepared for class, here there's a little bit more involved. There's a little practice and commenting on your practice. There's the reading and maybe a writing, or there's a reading and maybe responding to some questions, as well as other things. And I want this to be something that is not adding burden, but rather they work together and you see how they interrelate. So a little bit about this week's assignment. One thing that you'll find is there's a short reading from this book, 2 pages. There's also 2 short readings from this book, 2 short 2-pagers. So I think that you'll find those to be informative, and I encourage you to read them like one day and then another day, and not just sort of feel like you got to rush through them or get them all done as one reading, because they really address mindfulness in different ways and supportive ways. And as you go through the week and you pick up and you read another page or two, it sort of supports and reinforces what you're learning as opposed to just getting them done. So I think the invitation is for you to, at this moment, try to figure out, why are you reading these materials? Is it to develop your mindfulness practice and understanding, or is it to get the assignment done? And whichever it is, and it, I think, dictates an approach to take. Okay, that being said, in addition to those short readings, you also have 2 primary readings. One of them is a law review article, an easy read by Leonard Riskin. I'll share with you that he's one of my favorite and I think most gifted writers of mindfulness in the law. It's a short piece that he wrote for the Journal of Legal Education back in 2012, talking about a conference that was convened at Berkeley of lawyers and judges and law students from around the country. And so I think you'll find that to be helpful as a beginning understanding of a little bit about mindfulness in law and the history of mindfulness in law. The primary reading is a chapter from the book, The Mindful Law Student. That's the forthcoming textbook. And you'll find that it talks about leadership and self-leadership and some of the things that we talked about. And you'll also find that at the beginning, I tried to make it simple by combining these 2 documents into one document, because they can be read together, and I think in one fell swoop. And it begins with students on the path. So you'll have a couple pages of students on the path where you'll be introduced to some students that will follow throughout the readings this semester. And then you'll move to chapter 1, which is the chapter on leadership. Now, you'll also find that there's a document that I created for you that allows you to print it out or use it to input the information that is your writing assignment for this week. If you had a book, you could write it in the book or tear out the page and bring it in, but we're not there yet. So one of them refers to, in the middle of the chapter, it asks you to reflect on some of the things that have to do with self-leadership, yourself, and mindfulness, and to jot those down. So this page at the beginning has the first page dedicated to just that. I would encourage you to print it out and handwrite it, but you may find that it's easier to keep it online and to type it, and that's entirely up to you. That would just be the way I would do it. And then beneath it is we could call it the practice card, where it has, for the different days of the week, the space for you to note your observations. And it explains, which I won't do here again, how you'll sit for 3 minutes, and there's a bit of an instruction for what to do in that regard. I will touch on that. And then you'll reflect on the question that you previously answered, which is why that first page will be helpful, because that's where you'll have answered it when you were doing the reading. And you will then make note of your observations. Now, I understand that some of you might, very understandably, choose to read the leadership chapter later in the week, and that's okay. Ideally, you would read it early on because it sets up the practice, but you could go right to the last couple pages to do the practicing, start that today or tomorrow, and then get to the leadership chapter when you naturally would get to it in terms of how you structure your studying for this week. So let me just speak a little bit more to what you'll be doing each day in terms of your practice. It's a 3-minute practice. 3 minutes. The goal is to sit for 3 minutes each day. It's kept to 3 minutes, and you're given some stuff to do to try to make it a little bit more doable. Even though it's 3 minutes, it's interesting how 3 minutes can be challenging. You'll see that there's instructions to sit, to look around, to notice your body in the chair and the weight of your body against the chair, to be aware of the breath. So that might look like this. Time to do my practice. You set your alarm for 3 minutes. You then sit. You look around. Feel the body against the chair. Take a breath. Maybe a slower breath, but a breath. And then reflect on the answer that you previously gave to the question for that day. Each day there's a different question that you previously answered. And you can maybe even think about it and modify your answer if you want. That's not necessary. And think about it and reflect on it until the timer goes off after 3 minutes, which wouldn't be much longer than the time I've spent explaining this to you. Then when the timer goes off and you're done, write down in the observation field of that card, what did you observe during those 3 minutes? What thoughts did you have? What did it feel like in the body? Whatever it is that you might speak to, that would be your observation of that 3-minute practice. And then on Thursday, by the end of the day, please email, as we discussed, with the subject line as we discussed, those 2 pages with your answers to those 6 questions and your observations, one each day that you practice. Alrighty, I hope that's helpful. If you have any questions at all, please let me know. I will send information later this week about the So Be Mindful app that you can download that we'll be using in the weeks to come, but we're not using it this week. There's no guided practice for you to listen to this week. It's set your timer for 3 minutes, take your seat, go to the place that you've scouted out for yourself or the balcony, as I think Jessica was inspired by when somebody suggested that. And also use this week to sort of figure out the time and the place, the location, and what you'll do to set up that period of practice so that this week you sort of really make some headway on just the foundation for this. Because in the weeks to come, you want that to be something that, that's your good plan. Not that something won't happen that will disrupt it and you'll come up with you'll maneuver around that. But to have the plan is very, very helpful, because to sit and to pay attention to the breath or whatever these practices that we'll be learning invite us to do actually can be rather challenging. And I think that you'll find John Kabat-Zinn's reading from the book this week to speak to why it is that it can be so helpful to do so. And we'll be talking about that in class. Alrighty, I hope this is helpful, and feel free to end this video now. But if you'd like to do a 3-minute mindfulness practice like the one that Miguel invited us to do together, I'm going to close with that practice. So let us bring ourselves into a posture that's upright and stable, comfortable, aware of our posture. As we lower or close our eyes, whichever you prefer, resting attention on the sensations of the body sitting as we breathe. and taking a few slower, deeper breaths, which can be helpful for feeling a little more relaxed, for stabilizing the instrument. Breathing in and breathing out. Breathing in and out. In, out. Allowing the breath to resume its natural pacing and rhythm as we sit, present for our experience, whatever it entails. And if you notice your mind wandering away, gently bring your attention back to being here, sitting, breathing, aware. Aware of the body, aware of the breath. And when you're ready, in the next moment or two, with an awareness of doing so, lifting the gaze, opening the eyes, and seeing if you might not carry a little bit of what you've cultivated through this period of practice into the moments that follow. See you all next week.